We have a new Arbiter arriving in Watcher of Realms this weekend. He is coming on Saturday. His name is Kane, and he looks like he's going to be, at a minimum, a bit of an arena menace. He might be a lot stronger than that, but it is a very unique kit, one of the most unique kits we've seen in a very long time. Also, based on some information directly shared from the devs, I am certain I know which Legendary Lord will be paired with Kane on his banner. So if you're keen to know, more on that later. But Kane is looking really cool, and without a doubt, the devs have arena in mind with this guy. My first impressions are going to be single target and AoE. The guy will be, like I said, at a minimum, a disruptive presence. So let's hop in. How do I even know? I mean, we're here on the calendar for a reason. How do I even know that Kane is coming this weekend? Well, you can see it only goes till Friday. Ancient banners, aside from special holidays, only begin on Saturday. But Watcher of Realms gave us a huge clue, and it's not even a clue. They told us he's coming. So if you go into the official Discord for Watcher of Realms, the biggest Discord in the entire game, if you want to know about the second biggest, that would be mine, the Fast and the Fastidious, and you can join our community today. We are less than 500 members away from 10,000, which has been my goal for over a year now. So if you haven't yet joined, please consider it. However, if we go to the official news shared by Ombre02 here in the Watcher of Realms official Discord, you can see they have officially shared Kane. We've got a little official illustration of him with some highlights of his design. We've got his weapon, his sword. We've got an A-frame from the side. We've got an A-frame from the back. Whenever they have done this, without exception, it means that character is arriving the next banner. So he's Ancient exclusive, obviously, because he's an Arbiter. So we know he is coming this Saturday. That is pretty crazy. He will be here on September 27th. So just 5 short days from when you're seeing this video. Let's immediately hop in now to the Fastidious test server. You can see here we are live on the test server. And from here, let's go to the gallery and let's break down this guy's kit. Like I said, he's an Arbiter. He's also a fighter. And like all Arbiters in the game, aside from Praetus and Elysia, he has dual faction membership. And wouldn't you know it, it's the North Throne. Every new character now is North Throne. I feel like we can bet money that the next limited will be North Throne. They really just do this. They key in on a faction and they're like, let's dump all of the new characters into this faction. They even said it in the dev interview that I did with Destin, Susie, and Prospector that they were going to key in on the North Throne and be developing that faction this fall. It is officially the fall, and wouldn't you know it, another North Throne unit. Draylin, North Throne. Ireless, North Throne. Kane, North Throne. I mean, there you go, another North Throne unit. But I think most exciting is that he's an Arbiter. We still have so few Arbiters in the game. Arbiters are still very dominant in certain areas, especially Arena. And once you see this guy's kit, you are going to know why I think he's an Arena unit. So before I break it down, I want to say one really interesting thing. He is the first ever legendary cost generator unit. Moreover, he is a unit whose damage potential decreases over time. That will become clear in a second. So if we combine 3 things, the fact that he's an Arbiter, the fact that he has cost generation, and the fact that he's a lot better at the beginning of a battle than the end of it, I think they're introducing him to facilitate the Watcher of Realms equivalent of a Cleave setup. So if you are unfamiliar with the idea of a Cleave, it's very typical in RPGs that have a turn-based format, but essentially it's you want to outspeed the other team and deal so much damage against them that they die before they can come get you. You'll see some glass cannon-y approaches with that. The glass cannon-y, low survivability part would be less relevant for Watcher of Realms, but I do think the straight out-of-the-gate speed dash to deal as much damage as possible, and in this case, deploy as many high DPS units as possible before your enemy can even catch up, is going to be the name of the game with this guy. So from there, let us begin, and I want to start with the hero details, because his stats kind of stink. And this is kind of very, very interesting, and it will make sense once you see his talent. He is an Arbiter fighter, he is an Ancient exclusive legendary, and he has a putrid 3487 base attack. This is shocking. He is a normal DPS. He is a physical DPSer. We do not see that. It's really unheard of in this game. But when you see his talent, it will make sense. Additionally, his HP, pretty dang low, 15.3k. His defense is okay, not special, not terrible at 2478, but unfortunately his magic res is quite low at 630. The cost is excellent. He has only 12 costs. The block is standard, but this is what I want to talk about. This is the last thing you need to know about. That attack interval, 2.1 seconds. He is the fastest legendary fighter in the game by a lot. I couldn't think of any other legendary fighter that was lower than 2.4. Maybe I'm forgetting someone, but he is 0.1 second away from the typical lowest we see. If you think of a spammer mage like Mari or Aeon, they're going to come in at 2.0 seconds. If you think of a single target marksman, they will be 2.0 seconds. Here we have a fighter coming in at 2.1 seconds, and that actually is so relevant to his kit. So now that you have the background of all those weird stats and the strange base levels of his attributes, let's get into the talent. So when he is initially deployed, he will instantaneously gain 5 stacks of something called Shard of Deception. And if we click on that, you'll see every stack of Shard of Deception will increase his base attributes by 20%. But every time he ults, he will lose 1 stack. So if we try to do some pretty quick math here, you'll see 15,000 HP. That means 1 stack of Shard of Deception will give him an additional 1,500 HP. Pretty significant, right? So when you deploy him originally, he actually will have his base HP raised to over 21,000. He'll get an additional 6,000 HP from those 4 stacks. Moreover, if we look at the attack, he is getting about 350 additional attack per stack. So when he has 4 stacks, that is an additional 1,400 attack. So he goes up to 4887. Nothing mind-blowing. This is no Ardia or Lord Phineas or something crazy like that, but 4,800 is playable. Then the defense, that's pretty good as well. An extra 240 per stack. So what is that? Another 960. Let's just call it 1,000. With defense up towards 3,500, that's one of the best in the game for a fighter. Obviously, there's some push and pull here, though, because he's going to have those stacks eliminated one by one every time he ults. So there's going to be some interesting strategic things we all have to figure out when he arrives in the game. Do you even want to ult with him? And I actually think in a lot of cases the answer might be no, because all the ult is bringing, let's skip to that now, is damage. It is just damage, and it's 1 burst of damage. I don't know if this is anything, 700% damage to up to 10 enemy targets ahead. It's not every second over the X number of seconds. It's not a juiced up basic attack. It is 1 burst of DPS. I don't think it's that significant. Yes, it goes up to 1,000% when you skill it up. Yes, the cost does go down to 650, but I'm anticipating a lot of people will never ult with him. And actually what you'll have is a pretty dang tanky fighter, right? Over 21,000 HP, basically 3,500 defense when he has those 4 stacks, and he's got that incredible base attack interval. So with that in mind, let's look at the rest of the kit. Here comes the cost generation. Immediately after being deployed, after 10 seconds, he will restore 7 cost. If he is the member of a faction, so he's under a Northerner Lord or an Arbiter Lord, he will restore an additional 3 cost every time he does his cost regeneration. So without a Lord, it's 7 cost. With a Lord, and typically he's obviously going to be with a Lord, it is 10 cost. That is pretty good. So after the first deployment, you only have to wait 10 seconds. Then you get 10 cost if he's under a Lord. Afterwards, it will continue to trigger once every 20 seconds. Think about how much cost you're getting. After deploying him in the first 30 seconds, you already have 20 cost. He is definitively the best cost generator in the game. So outside of PvP and things like that, just thinking PvE in general, and certainly for progression, we have a new best cost generator in the game. The best part is none of his cost regen is gated behind skill ups. It all comes right away with his talent. So if you're thinking about something like Gear Aid 3, getting 20 cost in your first 30 seconds, because you'll deploy him first, is nuts. That is a whole nother level above a Dallin or a Cyrene or a Narvi. Very, very, very good. It is also not gated to his ultimate. It's just time gated. That's why Dallin's so strong and so much content. So he is going to be a cost spammer. Let's get into the rest of the kit now. He's got a multi-target AoE physical attack as the basic, goes up to 120% damage, very standard, hits 5 enemies, very standard yet again. We already talked about the ult, Reptilian Revenge, a singular instance of 1000% damage to up to 10 enemies, just 1 burst. It's cool, but I don't think it's worth it. You want to maintain those stacks for a lot of content. In some content, it could be worth it. We do get additional damage here from Insidious Strike. This will trigger every 12 seconds with skill ups, and with skill ups, he's dealing 300% damage to up to 5 enemy targets ahead, and it comes with knockback. He might have some Gear Dungeon 2 playability then with the bottom lane. Because this is strictly timed, you probably can time out his deployment, so he's going to do the knockback at the right time. I do believe he'll be viable for the bottom lane. With him, you won't have to deal with the RNG of a Callista, for example. Let's go to the final passive now, Killer Instinct, and this is what I kind of think makes his kit. So, there's no timer on this. It's just a conditional thing that is triggered whenever his HP drops below a certain threshold. So when it's below 40% without skill ups, you get all these great benefits. But really, if you're using him, you're going to skill him up. So let's talk about it fully skilled up. When his HP is under 50%, so if he has less than half HP remaining, he will gain 20% damage reduction, and he will restore at full skill ups 5% HP every single time he deals damage. This is why I pointed out his base attack interval. He's attacking very fast. You can build him comfortably at like a 1.2 second interval and still have him very, very tanky. When you're deep in the game and you've got really good gear, you could have a really tanky build on him, especially if you never ult, and you could have his attack interval at like 1.0 seconds. He is going to be a great tank. You could definitely see him slotting in for an Olog in single target. You could see him slotting in potentially for a Draylin or a Talon in AoE. He's gonna have play because he's a cost gen spammer. He's gonna be very tanky if you don't ult and when you trigger this condition and when you need it most, right? When the HP's low, he gets that big damage reduction, which will stack with other damage reductions that you're getting from potential support allies, and he's getting that crazy amount of HP restore. Put a Lunacy visor on him so he's getting extra heals every time he deals damage as well. It's going to be a big play, honestly. So that kind of is the lowdown on Kane. Let's hop to the Awakenings now, but quickly, I want to say an interesting thing is, can he really target this unit? He's not going to be a proper DPS. When units like Erlang Shen and Sithra and Sargok and Carnelian all exist out there, and you notice I haven't even mentioned Ardia and Valara yet, can you be targeting this guy if he's not with a good lord? No. But if you're really into PvP, maybe. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And look at this A1. This A1 is really nutty. Shard of Deception. You get 2 extra stacks. So now it's not 40% added to all the base attributes. It's going to be 60. And all of a sudden, he actually can deal damage. And all of a sudden, he actually is extremely tanky. Let's try to do some really quick math here. 6 stacks, so 60% of 15K. That would be an additional 9K. 24,000 base HP is really solid. If we look at attack now, what did we say? 350 per stack, just about that. That's another 2,100 attack. So now he's at 5,500 attack. Again, that is a lot better. If we look at the defense, let's just call it 250 so my math is easier. That's another 1,500 defense. He's basically at 4,000 defense. This is really, really, really good stuff. And then here's an interesting thing. Check out this redeployment time. So if you do want to use him for DPS, this probably is the move. You cycle him on and off the field, so when you do the first ult or two, he's back at full stacks. Every time he's deployed, not just the first deployment, he is going to get all his full stacks. So 4 stacks without A1 and 6 stacks with it. You can cycle him on and off. That could be relevant for a lot of content, especially PvE content and progression content. But if you're not using him to tank, maybe even it could work in PvP. It's not the first thing I would think to do, but if you needed a big burst of damage at the end of the battle and you already had all the costs you need and you have someone else tanking, it's possible. I really think it's a PvE progression thing, but that is pretty nice. He has that standard redeployment time of 60 seconds, but once you get the A1, you get the extra stacks to incentivize cycling him on and off, assuming you want to ult with him, and you get the reduced redeployment time. That's pretty cool. At A2, this is fun, and I actually think this is done correctly. They don't add base attack. No, they reduce his cost even further. So now his initial cost is only 10. So you can deploy him literally the first second a PvP battle starts, right? In Arena. In Arena, you start with 10 cost, and you're usually waiting till you have 12 or 14 to get your first deploy out. No, this brings him down to 10, so he is ready to go. Now, if we go to A3, his ultimate can now deal an extra 200% damage, and it inflicts vulnerability, physical damage, and magic damage on enemies. The way I see this working, I don't think it's the greatest A3 in the world, but the way I see it working effectively is towards the end of a battle in the arena when you might need to really out DPS your opponents. You can strategically time an ult to get these vulnerabilities. They last for 10 seconds. And make sure, you pick off the last few mobs coming at you before your enemy does. If we go to the A4, this is where we get the additional attack. Interesting, don't care too much about it. It's nice though. Keep in mind he has such a low base attack, so going from 3,400 to 3,700 is pretty significant compared to a high attack unit going from 6,000 to 6,300. Here we're talking about an additional 8.5% attack or so. And then finally, the A5. When Killer Instinct triggers, that's this passive over here when he gets the additional damage reduction and he gets the restores every time he deals damage. He's also going to gain a shield equal to 50% max HP for 10 seconds. It's on a 1-minute cooldown. That shield could be really clutch in certain pieces of content. But as you can probably tell from my energy and my tone of voice, the A1 is kind of where it's all at. And then actually the A2. I think this guy is going to be a menace in the arena. I think people are going to figure out really interesting things with him. And outside of arena, I think he's going to be an awesome progression unit just on the virtue of being the best cost generator in the game and being a pretty tanky fella. I'm curious to see how much people end up ulting with him. Personally, all my early impressions are that I don't think I'd ult with him very much at all, but he's an interesting guy. One of the most interesting heroes to arrive in Watcher of Realms this year, maybe ever. So that's going to be Kane. He is coming on Saturday. If you made it to the end of the video, you get a little treat. We know Kane is coming on Saturday. However, Ombre02 has not shared anything about any Lord. Well, kind of they have. They already have artwork with Praetus and Kane? I would bet anything based off of this image. Even though they're just talking about deals this weekend and next weekend, I would bet anything Praetus is on Raid Up this weekend. You can just see it there in the artwork, right? They're kind of overplaying their hand. Maybe they're doing it intentionally, but I think we're going to find out for sure tomorrow. I think on Saturday, we're getting a banner for Praetus and Kane. Look out for that. Let me know any theory crafting, any thoughts, any concerns, any questions you have. I'll check it out. Just put it in the comment section below. I've been Fastidious. Big thank you to R-Type for editing this video. In the end, I ended up editing this video because R-Type lost power. So best wishes to him. I hope he gets power. And in general, thank you to R-Type for always helping with so much. Everyone should go subscribe to his channel. The whole time I was dealing with Kane's stupid sword animation happening in the background, it kept making me trip up what I was trying to say. Share it with your mother, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.
The sword keeps distracting me. The sword is throwing me off so much. I'm going to go to the Awakenings. Dude, this sword thing, it's like I can't stop and start because of a stupid animation. I wish I could turn it off and have a blooper reel of the sword.